Welcome to the Estonian General Intelligence Podcast. It is my pleasure to welcome our guest today, Mariin Ratnik, the Undersecretary of Economic Development and Development Cooperation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Estonia. I hope I got it almost correct.
You got it totally correct, and thank you for having me.
Yes, and to start out, I would like to actually congratulate you on two things. One, becoming the lifetime ambassador for the Estonian Republic that was announced in, I believe, in February. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor, obviously, because that's something that I guess to gain when you're under 50 in a diplomatic service is quite an achievement. So I'm humbled. That's how I literally felt when I got this title.
Wonderful. It's a pleasure, and I think as Estonians we're very proud and grateful to have you and with such a distinguished service and now in this role as well. And the other congratulations that I wanted to extend was on EstDev becoming pillar assessed. That was just recently announced from what I understand.
Yes, that's the news. It's about 2 days old, and it's particularly nice to have that because that's a very long awaited assessment, and that shows, of course, that our path to change a bit our approach to the development cooperation here in the ministry, to have our own agency first. We created the 21, and now having the pillar assessed agency, it's something that it's a job well done, particularly from the colleagues from EstDev now.
Absolutely. And as we immediately jumped into this, I guess we should actually explain to international audience also what EstDev is and what the role in the world is in Estonian world of the development cooperation.
Yeah, sure. EstDev is Estonian Development Cooperation Agency that is part of foundation under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So we created that, as I said before, 2021, in order to have a very clearly set 2 steps how we implement and how we do a development policy. Meaning that we have a ministry as a policy setter and we have an agency as the implementer. So, and again, this achievement also being now pillar assessed in the EU, so therefore being able to use directly and implement EU financing also in the development cooperation is something that that's a great step ahead. And so the decisions we made a couple of years ago were in the right direction.
Wonderful. And I guess we're extending our congratulations to that team at EstDev as well. Very well done. But now, coming back and to get started, maybe it's good to lay down some background for the conversation. And as I was preparing for our discussion, I have to say, what a distinguished career and the different roles and and so many interesting roles. And maybe you could, with a few words, or maybe more than few words, to go over your career and what have been kind of the key inflection points and key learnings, and what have brought you here, and what have been kind of the most important learnings from the past.
That's interesting. You always think that where do you start when you start talking about career? I start sometimes from the point, or quite often from the point, that how did I arrive here where I am now? I remember myself thinking probably in the last years of the high school that what would be the job that I would like to do. And I wasn't sure. When you are 15, 16 years old, you don't know. Some do know. I didn't. I understood there are 2 things I'm good at. In conversations and talking to people, I always have loved that throughout my life as being very small. And also language skills. That was rather easy for me to achieve. And I thought that, okay, that was something that would actually combine the both. With 15, then I understood that, my capability to think, I achieved to the point that I could work as administrator in the hotel. So that was where I thought I could go. And now when I think back about that thought, being a diplomat already more than 25 years, it's actually diplomacy. Reflects, I think, all these 2 points particularly. So I studied economy, actually. After that, I wasn't still sure what would be the thing I want to do when I grow up. So, and it was a bit an accident that I happened to be invited to the Foreign Service. And throughout the Foreign Service, you have the opportunities, but you are generalist. So you have to be capable of adjusting very fast. So my economic studies background has definitely helped me a lot to understand actually the function of the world, the connections, to maybe grasp the understanding of different connections in the world, being political, economical, or some others. So, and that's why I think the career path actually also combines in the diplomacy many aspects. I have been economic advisor in Berlin. I have been ambassador in OEC, which is security policy. So bilateral ambassador in Belgium, Luxembourg, bilateral ambassador in Madrid, having been Prime Minister's foreign policy advisor, head of security policy in the foreign ministry, and now in my capacity that combines actually three large pillars. So business promotion, international trade matters, and development cooperation, humanitarian assistance. So it all comes together, but the ground laying, kind of this basic or general knowledge as economist has helped me a lot. So can't say that, I can tell you exactly why this turns in career path, because diplomacy, you can't always choose. You are sent to somewhere to serve your country, and that's what you do. But I think all these places where I have been something that I always made my own, and I always have felt very good in these positions.
Excellent. And I'm not going to ask what's next yet, but maybe
I don't know.
Maybe at some point in the conversation. And maybe we could dive in. You said that you're covering kind of three roles, and the economic cooperation, the development cooperation, and aid part of it, or you said actually international trade and as well. And how do you balance those? Because there can be some quite competing interests, I would imagine.
It's interesting that you say that, but actually I would say there aren't. This is a portfolio that but I have been now having for a bit more than 3 years, and these three pillars are actually very logically combined. So when you think about international trade policy, then you have several angles that, first of all, this is an enabler that creates a basis for a good business cooperation, right? International trade treaties. But also that's the part of the other part of development policy, actually. So we all know the famous sentence, trade instead of aid. So that's what we said when we reinstated our state after regaining our independence in 91. We wanted to quickly move from being the aid receiver to somebody who's actually doing the trade. When you think about now what's happening in the international development policy, lots of cuts of so far normally seemed international development money actually has had this effect that it pushes people more to the trade. So, and development policy and development cooperation, for Estonia at least, has never been something that is, so to say, only seen as something giving aid. We have never seen that we give somebody just an aid. We always seen that we actually cooperate with somebody. And as Estonia itself, as a state, has been created or recreated in the 90s through the digitalization processes, not only by state, but always with the public-private partnership. That means that we always had the companies who actually helped to set up the Estonian digital society. Then that's the absolutely natural logic for us also using development policy. So I think that's interesting also, I have to say right away. I see that's the phenomenon that now everybody speaks about, that how to engage private businesses. And sometimes it comes to me as a surprise, because we always done that. We always seen it as a natural part and never seen a contradiction in there. So maybe that's something that we have been able to also a bit show the path and say that, look, that's only natural that you can do.
Yes, I do have to say that having had a different experience in living in different countries and working in larger and smaller organizations, one thing that I've always been very proud in Estonia and I've always communicated is the excellent cooperation between the private and public sector in the international affairs, whether it's development cooperation, whether it's the promoting business in the other countries and the other regions. It's always been a very good to have government as a partner and government officials as partners in this process, and also mostly fairly clear lines of that would avoid certain competition between the public sector and private in those areas. And maybe diving into the kind of development cooperation and aid part a bit more. Estonia is there are a couple of different aspects. Estonia is not very big, so definitely not competing with the budgets of World Banks and European Commissions and larger European nations.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, Estonia is quite innovative in digital, in very many governmental processes, the efficiencies that they bring. How do you see that those two things combined, and how has Estonia been able to maintain quite a significant seat at the table in many of the conversations?
I think our strength has always been twofold when we talk about development policy: digitalization and education. So I think these are the core strengths, and they are built on our own core strength, meaning that we proudly say that our society is fully digital meanwhile, so you can get also divorce and marry online basically, unless you want to have a virtual ring on the finger. And then education also, we have made enormous change in our educational system from the 90s, coming from the destroyed educational logic to the currently educational system that always ranks very high in the OECD PISA tests. So, and these are the things that we have always said through the development cooperation, that these are the things we are ready to give ahead. There is no point Estonians going to build water systems or laying electricity lines. We maybe can do that as well, but that's not our core strength. So our point has been, let's stay focused. Let's do something that we know that there is something that we might be good for somebody else, to our cooperation partners. And let's be also very focused in the regions and countries where we act. And on top of that, as our part of the overall official development assistance is small, but it's not too small again. So we are able to contribute also to for example, to the weakest states through the World Bank. But we think also that at the moment we are so small that we could actually bring a change through our contribution only when we do it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That means let's put into focus Ukraine, if I may, because that's the biggest focus that we have. So our strength is we are there, we are already acting, we are on the ground, we offer solutions, can be used already now. We are not afraid about the fact that the war is ongoing. We are not afraid as a state of being there and actually investing as a state already in Ukraine. And what do we do is not going into the concrete projects. We can do that later if you wish. So, but we bring hope, right? We are there. People see, nobody has left us. The people are still here. They help us with the educational system. They basically help us to make ourselves better, build back better. So, and I think that's the focus that we have had. Like, focus sectors, focus countries, and do things that we know that we can deliver. And that we know that has a broader impact.
Excellent. But maybe, as you mentioned Ukraine, let's jump in and have a conversation about Ukraine. I try not to be very political on this podcast, but I think it's an important discussion to have, and also from multiple aspects. One is actually how has the war in Ukraine affected our policies, the economic cooperation policies, the international trade, the development cooperation policies. And let's start with this.
I mean, mostly what the Russian aggression in Ukraine has affected is actually the world peace. Let's start from there. Well, you wanted to not be too political, we have to start there.
Yes.
So, and it has affected the way the international treaties and agreements are seen. And that's the main line that we underline, that it's not like, it's not a separated, singled out conflict somewhere in the Eastern Europe. It is something that affects profoundly the Charter of United Nations, the core principles of how do we see the threat or using the threat or force, how do we accept or do not accept, in that case, territorial integrity and sovereignty of another countries. So I think everybody has to be aware that when we let it happen, the Russian aggression to continue and the Russia to win out of that war, then that is the effect that might have in the end to every one of us. Each country in the world can be affected, because that would be something that would be interpreted as, look, it's allowed, it's okay to do that, so next time somebody else is trying. So that's why we very strongly and very clearly stand against this possibilities that these kind of actions are accepted anyhow in any level. So that's a core policy. So and of course it has affected in from my current perspective also as being the special envoy for the reconstruction of Ukraine, meaning that coordinating the help that's not military from Estonia to Ukraine has affected in the several manners. So Estonians are very deeply ready to support Ukraine in whichever way. So when, in general, when you look at statistics and you ask the polls or read the polls, be it the Eurostat or our own, people don't know what development policy is. But when you put Ukraine into the picture, they fully understand. They are ready to help, to try to help, and so on. That's also, some say that this is problematic because only certain kind of countries are helped or supported. But I think it's important that there's in general understanding that Estonian one policy in foreign policy is something that to go and help some other countries. It will be more rooted through the fact that we help Ukraine. Of course, our focus is clearly to Ukraine, supported. I think 1/3 of our whole help goes there, but also to the neighboring countries, Moldova and any other who are ready to go actually the path of democratization, getting closer to the EU. Armenia is then there, for example, from the region. So, but it also has affected the way, of course, we look into the trade policy, Ukraine and EU trade policy. We see that trade policy is something that actually helps Ukraine to go through these difficult times. Their economy is still very resilient and strongly standing. So if we create these enablers again through the trade policy that they can trade the goods and services with EU as a natural partner, then that helps again to keep up their economy. And when we keep the economy of Ukrainians or help to keep it running, be it through the trade measures or be it also bilateral economic relations, then the less is the direct support needed for Ukraine, either now or also later when they are ready to win the peace. So the core thinking, as you might hear through that, is supporting Ukraine every way we can, and through that, of course, helping them to help themselves.
Absolutely. And I wanted to actually dive in a bit more about the balance between the aid part of it, the economic cooperation part of it, and kind of development cooperation part of it. That how do we kind of see it right now, and how do we see it advancing, and also do we have a plan and ready for for the day when the bombing stops and then Ukraine can fully focus on rebuilding its society?
Ukraine is actually reconstructing and rebuilding its society already now. I mean, the fact that Ukraine is a country who is about to start, or actually started already, the negotiations of joining EU, is something that has, I think, brought their thinking already in there, that this everything they do, it shouldn't be rebuilt as it was, but should be rebuilt thinking along the lines of the European Union acquis. So, and that has already started. So the same logic applies again when we talk about that what we do in Ukraine, how we approach any project we do there. We always have this logical goal in our minds that has to support Ukraine in their path to the EU. So just to bring you some examples, so when we construct literally some buildings, we always bring in the European Union standards in construction, for example. When we talk about trainings, social services, or training of the police officers, or kindergarten teachers, or anything that needs to be either retrained because we have built something new systems, then again we bring in the logic that look, that is something that you will future need. These are skills that in the future will help you. So better kind of step ahead, and then you are already future proof when you are about to get closer to the EU. The same is the trade matters or agricultural matters. Or also big project that we do is something called Impact Schutemer, where we train the local officials that they understand what it means, for example, when you are writing projects for the EU or you implement certain projects for or with EU, so that they have the capacity already now that they need on the local level also to be ready when all these opportunities are there.
Maybe a bit of background on for the listener what the impact Schutemer is.
Impact Schutemer is it is a training program for local government officials in Ukraine. We have done it also in Moldova, if I'm not mistaken now, that we literally train local government level how to apply for the projects EU, how to implement different projects and programs in the EU, and what does it all mean. So that's the program.
Okay.
Has had a huge interest. I think the first one had like 250 people participating.
Sounds very interesting project. Now a question. I think one can more easily understand the rebuilding part of it, of constructing the buildings and then rebuilding the bridges and the clearing mines and getting the agriculture going and things like this. How much of a cooperation and how are we being a partner for Ukrainians to kind of rebuild the soul of the nation and coming back from that hurt?
That's a good question. I think I would answer that probably with the other way around. I think we have a lot to learn from Ukrainians about the resilience. It's not about the resilience only, how they actually very quickly repair the damages, but the resilience of the people per se who are there, who literally every day either see the direct impact of war or see it more indirectly. So I go 2-3 times a year to Ukraine in my capacity, and you see that they are ready to stand against the aggressor, whatever it takes, and they are ready to go ahead better. They are more innovative than I guess we are. They are fast thinking and fast wanting to see changes where they can. So I think that's something that we should learn more from them. Of course, I mean, every such a conflict, in that case, a war of aggression, has a huge impact of the society. And will have in the same case. There are, different elements of that. Those who were on the front lines, those who left might come back, those who had to move inside the country, those who have to relearn from doing one job, changing that to other. So I think that's a long process. But that's first we have to help them to win the war.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm kind of reflecting here also in the thinking, and I haven't been in Ukraine for a while, but I lived there 20 years ago, from 2005 to 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that was completely different time. That was right after the Orange Revolution. There was a lot of excitement in the air. There was a lot of positive, a lot of international cooperation, the economic growth, and also growth in governmental policies, and quite a bit of excitement. And of course, completely different picture right now. And at the same time, I kind of remember the collective energy and the power and the positiveness of the Ukrainian nation and the people. And I'm really, really looking forward to the time when this rebuilding can really start or continue without the continuous threat of bombing and destruction of the country. And I did want to kind of go into more detail on the innovation aspect. And this is where my background is mainly digital. And Estonia has been very proud going around the world and being one of the top digital nations in the world and very successful digital society. But these days, I understand that actually Ukraine has had a really crash course in becoming very effective. And I'm not talking only from the digital governance standpoint, but I'm sure that they've bypassed us for sure on the defense topics and utilization of AI and all the drone warfare and things like this. How do you see the shift of the balance and the shift of the cooperation between our best experts in digital and defense areas and Ukrainian expertise?
But this is, I think, the same. We as Estonians tend to think that we are excellent in digitalization and new innovation. I think we have now, in the last years, learned from Ukrainians a lot about that we have to realize that we are a bit slow. We might have been very fast, and I think I should again refer to the end of 90s, beginning of 2000s, when we built or started to build the whole society, taking actually a clear political leadership decision also that that's the way we go, that's our aim. So Ukrainians have learned that in a very hard way. But as it was for us, it was necessity. It wasn't just something nice to have, just to have a flashback. And very well, we actually digitalized also because we didn't have anything. So you have a very limited resources of human capital. You have very little money. How you make it faster, more efficient, and that you can actually use people for somewhere else. So I think Ukrainians have the same necessity at the moment to be quick, innovate quickly, and use all the tools possible that you can in order to help yourself to win the war, when we talk about drones, different military systems, but also to use this moment out of necessity again, that how, for example, you use your digital IDs, how you help people to, have the support from the government when they have lost their homes and everything that they had. So how you get people back the documents that they were burnt down through the fact that they were somewhere in the paper form, all the data somewhere in the front line. So I think that has been also a clear push. So as any crisis, right, we should use it wisely and make use of it in order to make the next step. So answering your question is something that we all should actually work together with Ukrainians and innovate together with them in order for us as a society is also being able to make a next step or frog leap.
And I guess it's also quite a shift in the mindset as well, that we're not going to kind of spread the gospel of the digitalization and all this, but it's actually where can we cooperate and what can we learn, and also bring that knowledge back home, and not only back home, but also to EU partnerships, and also to the other cooperation partners that we have, whether it's Global South or elsewhere.
Yeah, of course, that has been our gospel. This is the word of preaching that we are given, that we are ready to share our experience and co-create and co-develop with somebody else. Usually still has been that us, we kind of know better because we have maybe 20 years, 25 years of experience, and we also been ready to share what works, what it doesn't. But now we have as Ukraine, as a partner who sometimes has made quicker steps in the development of digital solutions, AI usage, innovation, so on. So there is actually a moment where we can learn.
Do you feel it's also a bit of a wake-up moment for us in our thinking of this kind of comfortable position of being the digital leader, and now it's actually that our relevance and our capabilities, and what do we do next on the international scene?
I think it's a good one. In case it is wake-up call, probably it is, because we also have to rethink that, the basis that we have for our digital society is something it's 25 years ago. I mean, it's 35 years old. So I think we should kind of maybe look how we either renovate or change the core foundations from technical point of view. But we also should maybe gain the pace again. That to say that, okay, what is the next level of development that we should do in order to have a next jump ahead. We still feel very comfortable about the digital society we live in because it's still quite unique. I mean, many countries have actually catched up, I think, in many aspects, but in many aspects still we still are world leaders. That how quickly we pay taxes, the fact that we can do everything online. I don't have to go anywhere with papers, so it's very comfortable. And now is the question, how to put it into the next level, be it then, AI usage is obviously the next step that we have been playing around with. But in actual usage, maybe it's not as much or not as systematic as we think it should be.
Do you think it's also a way for us to be a good partner for Ukraine, that as we have quite a bit of experience now in development cooperation and working with the EU and working with the World Bank and other partners, and that one moment they can be more involved in actually kind of spreading the knowledge and experiences as well? Or how much of a cooperation is there right now? Maybe it's just my lack of knowledge right now, because I'm kind of assuming that the focus is mostly internal in Ukraine.
No, actually, it isn't so much internal. I think cybersecurity we work quite well together. Also digitalization, because there is still something that we can bring in, which is different standards. But so again, we can bring something back, saying, look, some solutions could be better. There is something that it's not only in context of Ukraine, but I have been going around and preaching also when I talk about digitalization in general and more wider regions, saying that, look, don't miss out the cross-border cooperation. That's what we didn't do in the digitalization. So in the EU, we see how difficult now it is to do actually the cross-border, exchange of big electronic ID, big the different solutions like e-prescription, just recognizing each other's signature, because everybody has this different systems. Yes. So, and they are not compatible with each other. So, and that's what I always goes and look, please avoid that. Try to cooperate in that sense more, so you can actually have a quicker development process there as well.
Absolutely. That's actually quite a good transition to, the next topic that's very close to my heart, which is the cooperation with Africa. Sure. And the topics there definitely, how to have the alliances and and trust cooperation exactly on the identifications and cross-border financial transactions and then standardization of the ID topics, etc. How do you see our cooperation in all of the areas that you govern right now with Africa, and what have been kind of the latest kind of updates or changes, or what is still going strong?
So there are several ways we cooperate in Africa, and as I started to say that we are very focused, so we focus in currently on 4 countries: Kenya, Namibia, Botswana, and Uganda. And we do also very focused sectors, so digitalization, education, in general, democracy, and institutions building. So digitalization, I think the best approach we can have is through the Smart Africa, because it combines already the African states who are ready to go ahead with digitalization, at least thinking together about it, how to proceed. So that's where we also contribute as Estonia through the Estonian digital or IT cluster companies and so on. So we work with them, again, knowledge sharing, experience sharing, and how to do it better. So that's a very, it contains now, I might not be, they grow so fast, 40 countries, I guess, out of 54.
Yes,
So
I say 40 plus.
40 plus, yeah, because
Yes.
they grow rather fast. So that's definitely one. But then we, of course, what we try first when we talk about digitalization, of course, there is no point to go and try to digitalize one service in the country. So what we do is we offer the first of all, of course, the overall assessment that what is the level at all. And then when you know what's the level of digitalization, then you see also what needs to be improved. So, I think step by step we see that because our experience has been there are core elements that you have to take in mind if you want to set up a true digital society, the strong digital ID, interoperability, platform decentralization rather than centralization, and lots of trust building. So I think the 4 most important ones. So, but of course, every country has a different approaches. First of all, ID in general. How do you identify people? Do they are registered all and so on? So that's one of the core elements. The question is it possible everywhere? Should it be done differently? And so on. So, but we can only do is that we see that this thing functions. Any other, we see it's not really functioning. So, and that's how we proceed. So we have made this kind of assessments in Kenya. We are, doing the same in Namibia, Botswana. So, and the same goes with educational systems. So instead of training mainly or providing the understanding what to teach in the classroom is also important to first give the understanding what is the change of the teacher's qualification that you actually need to achieve in order to be a better teacher and through that providing better education. So we always a bit zoom out and start from there and then go more deeper step by step.
And I think we always need to also mention the digitalization building blocks or GovStack
Oh yeah,
projects.
GovStack.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
of course. Thank you for reminding me that. So open sourced logic. It's something that we, of course, are absolutely the ones who we preach for that, because we see that is something that actually keeps the digital independence. Let's put it that way. And that's also something that you can, independently develop ahead. So I think that's definitely, digital public goods. That's a critical element there.
And how do you see kind of cooperation or competition with the technologies that are coming from different regions? For example, from India and other regions.
The competition is there, but in the same time, we know what's our strength is. What is the strength of GovStack? GovStrack is also developed not only by Estonia but also German colleagues. International Telecom Union is on board. So it's something, as I said, it's open source digital components that you can use without getting then tied up to certain, either certain technologies or certain certificates. So you don't take this long-term obligation and you tie to certain countries whose political views might change, all of that. So that's why we see that this is definitely something that should be used always and everywhere. And that helps, to be also every country in their digital development flexible.
And maybe you're the best person now to validate kind of the big mission that I've been on, after living in Africa for a few years and working with the GIZ and the German cooperation and also working more closely with I would say the European colleagues and World Bank projects and things like this. And for me, it's that it's time for Estonia to really kind of change the messaging and the focus. That I think it's brilliant that and when we are very good at technology and we have very good ID card and we have very good X-road and interoperability systems and we know all of that. And I think we've done a wonderful job in kind of making an international offer out of it, the open source offer with the GovStack. But there is a much bigger part where we're really good at, and this is actually implementing technologies and actually going through the organizational changes needed within the government and the societal changes, and into actually getting the benefits out of all of those projects, having a very efficient tax policy, having a very efficient, social systems, and how do we pay pensions and how fast do we do that, and then many other aspects, and how securely we communicate and transact using the ID codes, and how well integrated it is. And this is something where I see that the true uniqueness that from the technological standpoint, I think the world is catching up quite well. It's arrogant to say that the world is getting there quite well. But where I see still a big challenge is how to actually go into the organizations and implement the shift in mindset, the shift in, what is the real change that we're trying to enact or impact, and how do we do that? And on top of everything, we've been actually quite good in doing for other people's money. So actually, very many of the systems in Estonia are obviously built with the European support. And I would really say that this is the part of the knowledge and pragmatic and kind of engineering mindset. It's not just the technology and how to implement the technology, but how to actually using by using the technology, how to implement a societal change and having the impact and really making the systems, 3-4 times more efficient than comparable systems in the world.
I fully agree. We are very good implementers. We might be even less technology creators, but implementing of existing technologies and using them for our good. So I think that we are excellent in it. But also kind of using them then or finding the ways how to use them in different manners, so throughout different systems. But how to get there, it's something that we always also say that we can also provide our or share our experience. What did it mean for us when we, for example, started to use one or the other element? There is never the opportunity that somebody takes it over one-to-one because, there is no other Estonia in that case. There is no other set of people like that, and there is not another set of political thinking like that. So, but it's something that can be used as a kind of a test bed, right? In our case, it was easy, I think, to get that to the people's mind, as I explained before. But it needs it needs a leadership. It needs a decision that that's what we will do. So because any change is a decision. It's a decision. It doesn't happen like suddenly it started to change and then something changed. In that case, to some more digital. So no, it's a decision. So every every change is a decision. So it is also when we talk about development. It's a decision that you want to develop to a certain direction. And so usually leadership decision. So, I think we have gained in several elements at all that we talk about digitalization, development, cooperation, that we have brought up. We have brought up the point that, World Bank has a vice president for digitalization, finally. That digitalization is something that's seen as a natural part throughout, for example, the Development Assistance Committee in OECD, where our members now. That digitalization is something that, and that's what we actually wanted to achieve. That's not something standalone policy or logic. That should be, let's say, like a thin red line throughout activities, because what does it do? It creates transparency. It helps to not waste money. You need less resources. You need less money, less people. You are more efficient. You are quicker. So you can actually do everything better through that. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter if you build houses or you teach teachers or you teach officials or you healthcare or whatever. So you just have to use the opportunity. So for me, at the moment, as I speak, feels already that digitalization is something that, should be there everywhere because for us it's natural, but it's not there everywhere. So now the question is that is digitalization actually something that can be leapfrogged over when we talk about new technologies? Meaning, is it necessary, for example, to start to use AI or not? I don't have an answer to that. There's a question that, the development is so quick these days in different areas that maybe when the digitalization hasn't reached throughout everywhere, maybe there is a next level already that I don't even know yet. So, let's say, as we used to say, at least here, is that we probably won't go back to paper and pen anymore. So digitalization is here to stay. We are all online. Everything is interconnected. And here we go only to the next levels and not backwards, unless something very dramatic happens. So therefore, that is something that shouldn't be seen anymore as something like a new development, but something necessary. So it has to be necessity. It should be logical that we all have these systems because there is no way back. So we all should be already there. So, and those who are not, we can help to say that what's the easiest ways to implement. Just also know, just to bring you know that also very well. I mean, what do you need to be digital? You need a connection, you need some kind of hardware, right? So that's two things, you have to create those. We didn't have the connections in Estonia end of 90s. What did we do? We put up the wireless routers throughout the country. I mean, not very trustworthy, not very reliable in connection, but you have it. So, and then I still hear the question that was really expensive in the beginning. No, it wasn't. It was the cheapest thing to do. Because, putting all the fiber optic cables, that would be expensive. That first start to create the necessary connections, for example, and then go from there. Because, as soon as you create the possibility to use something, people will start using it. I have a very good example, always my private life. I have parents-in-law who close get to 90 now. A couple of years ago, they live in a very remote village. We provided them internet and a pad to people who are about to turn 80. So you think that they never learn. But as soon as you give them just the opportunity, and you give the basic skills that's on-off button, and here is the Skype, or here is the, any other source, you can make pictures here, and you can watch videos here, then believe me, they just learn it by themselves. Just you have to create the possibility for that.
Absolutely. Having the access and having the tools. But yes, coming back to what you said previously, this was kind of my point also, that we actually do need to kind of address the harder problems as well. That communicated desire of where do we want to go and what the end state would be. That's I think still a great challenge, and this is something that I personally am sometimes frustrated when I see the kind of international presentations, and we start with this, you need to have an ID card or ID code, and you need to have an interoperability. I'm like, let's put the other stuff in there more as well. Of course, I'm not being as critical like we're not doing it at all. I think eGovernance Academy and overall we are actually covering the stack quite well. But I still feel that our message is quite technical still on what we're discussing. And now the question is, which the technologies will be next, and which will bring the next big impact. We were really good at utilizing the internet the age. We were really good at utilizing the wireless connectivity age and things like this. But right now, there is a lot of discussion on AI and AGI and what the world will look like. And I think many of those innovations will come from different places, whether it's the matter of necessity, where the technologies will be utilized faster, as we discussed in Ukraine's case, or it's also just ease of use and kind of different models and mindsets. My first guest of the podcast was Lucas Ilves, and we had a very good discussion on the agentic government and how to actually, the agentic wave where the machines will be doing even more of the work, and then proactive work, thinking for us and providing more personalized services. I think that's definitely a very, very exciting area to go. Before we go into the AI and AGI world, I would like to ask in all of your roles, what do you see that's kind of what you're most curious about, and what seems most exciting and kind of optimistic looking ahead?
That's a good question. What is the most optimistic? Yeah, it's so much pessimism at the moment in the world. It's first time.
We can switch it. We can start with the frustration as well.
No, let's not go there. No need. I was just like thinking. I think when I'm staying focused on more this area of development cooperation rather. I think, as I said, and as my strong belief is, and I think in Estonians generally is that you have to use every good crisis for something new and something good to make out of it. So I think actually the fact that there is a lots of talking and also happening in the change of financing of development, and that actually creates a big possibility to make a change in development policies as such. They haven't been changed for roughly 60 years. So, and then, assessing everything, why do we do what we do and how do we do it? If we have done that well, if we have to refocus, you have to do something else, or also the countries who have been relying over the years on the development assistance, do they have to rethink how they approach their own state? So I think that, again, it's a necessity that is created to change. So, and I think when we are able to do that and actually make a change, development cooperation is a very wide field. You can start from the UN until the bilateral and very simple things. So if there is a possibility that we actually, through that, create something that is more efficient, that will limit, the be it even agencies to deal, for example, healthcare in the world, when we only talk about UN or climate matters. I think that we have already gained. And my optimistic thinking is that will happen, that we will not, just talk about that, we are in the crossing point and the crucial moment. I think we actually should use that to change that thinking, that how it has been approached, to make it now more simple, easily understand, more concentrated, with the concrete aims, all this simplification throughout. So, and therefore it's also will be more efficient. Also, it actually, reaches more people and actually through that also some kind of innovation is created again in developing systems. So.
And also much more expedient.
Yeah.
Because it is still kind of, I would say, I'm looking for the right word right now. It's staggering or mind blowing to think about how slow some of the process can be. When you look at how long it takes from a great idea in a certain country, and how long it takes to get to the funding and get the funding flowing through the different organizations, and get to the procurement and actually get to the real solution. And in these days where the technological change is so fast, you don't have the half a year, couple of years to wait for it for a larger project to come through.
Exactly.
And this is definitely an area also where I'm actually very curious on how ready we are to actually very critically look our own systems, whether it's procurement systems, whether it's the different processes or of the budgeting systems, etc. That can sound quite mundane and boring, but where a lot of the slowness comes from. And how can we actually kind of reevaluate our own processes, and how open our partners, whether it's European partners, whether it's World Bank, whether it's other organizations, whether it's within UN, into us coming with the discussions or possible ways of making those processes much more efficient. How do you feel?
Yeah, sure.
Or am I being very naive right now?
No, it's the question is like who likes change anyway, right? We are very comfortable where we are usually. So and then when there is a need for change, then we are uncomfortable to do that unless there is no other way around it. So that's about like it's not us bringing the change. We just like the change is sometimes needed, but not really accepted. Let's put it that way. It should keep pushing. Procurement processes are one particular thing, and that's where we are also very clearly as a state looking into it and how to simplify those, because they are highly complicated and they are very, you have to be very precise, but also, and preciseness means usually doesn't include speed. So either you are fast or you are precise. So in these kind of things, you can't do both. So how to be more efficient in those? How to simplify the processes is one thing. But for example, also budgeting. That's where we actually come quickly, I think, to something that is called about data integrity. We haven't talked about it, but actually, in order in all these processes to be better, you need more clear and sufficient data. So also making decisions in development cooperation, data-driven, decisions would be much better. The question is how you validate the data, where to get the qualified data, or the quality of the data is important. I'll just bring you a simple example that I have been thinking about in recent days is, something that we are as a development assistance committee member, so we have to show our official data about official development assistance. How do you get that? So it's not only the thing that we do as those who are called to do development cooperation or our agencies. There's so many people in our country do that without knowing the fact that they actually contribute to the official development assistance. So it would be wonderful to have, like, let's say, a little AI running through our bookkeeping and saying, look, here. That's what we need, and collects automatically, earmarks the points that can be collected in the end and said, look, this is the development assistance. Can't be done because the data that is provided by the bookkeepers in that case is limited. So any machine wouldn't read out if that activity or visit or meeting or something actually could have contributed to the official development assistance or not. So the data is already not doesn't have the quality. In order to raise that quality of that data, you actually have to basically ask the bookkeepers or financial assistants to put more information in, which is don't want to do because more work. So there is a long steps before that in order to see that, look, where do we go with the new technologies? Technology might be there, but you need also, the whole data that you need in order this new technology to work for you. So that's also one thing that we have to look into. And that's also critical, actually, when you look into development cooperation in the future, and is that the data from the partner countries, actually. So it would be much easier to have integrated, clear quality data of our partners to say, okay, actually, your data is here, so now we can say based on that's what you could need or we could work with you. But we don't have it. So first you actually start with the data collection. So
I think that's a very important point. And as I'm always optimistic person, I see the great opportunity over here. Is that if we are as good as we are in Estonia and we are so organized and so digitalized and all of this, we should be in the best place to lead by also having the best data and having the best practices and understanding and testing out. Having the AIs running around and saying that, or the agents running around and saying that, this is what data I'm missing, or this is why I'm not able to make quicker decisions and things like this, and then actually sharing that knowledge to the rest of the world as well. Comparing to the comparison with the Ukraine, that when they're building a new building, that they would already do it by Euro standards, for example. That we can already say that, when you're digitalizing your systems or you're building your new e-governance systems, make sure that you have the input points to have that data, because this will be valid at a certain stage. But the other part of it also was that, so that's the part of, analytics, having better data, garbage in, garbage out, having less garbage in to having better data information coming out. I see definitely that's one point where we can be quite beneficial both to ourselves and to our partners. But the other part of it is also actually utilization of AI and, AGI technologies coming up as well. And I actually have, from the last couple of years, few experiences that where I'm working on quite cumbersome and bureaucratic procurement process or budgeting process. I'm not going to name any names right now, of course. And where I've seen that, you're preparing a certain document, whether it's a request for funding at the end of the day, there is about 10% of the information that's really kind of valid and that's unique and that you're putting in. And rest of it is you're filling it with, corporate jargon or organizational jargon and the fluff. And it's kind of interesting to see that you take this, you take the 10% of the important information, then you tell language model to fill in the other part of it, take that document as an example now, does it in 5 seconds. Then you send it to the other part of it, and you get a very detailed answer in 10 minutes, knowing that they have done exactly the same. They've taken the document and said, okay, remove the 90% of the fluff and give me the information, the 10%. And you see that, there are deficiencies in there already. And now my question or my challenge in my mind always is that, okay, can we just do without the fluff now? And
do you think we can?
I think, 90% is an overstatement, but I think about half of it we can easily bypass. Because it is information that it's filler, it's feeling more important than things like that. I think for the efficiency standpoint, when we know what the projects that we're doing, we don't need to copy every time the full goals of the, digitalization or full goals or the full UN goals every time and the alignment to the goals and things like this. I think it's important to have a lot of the stuff, and I'm not going to be as radical in saying that let's remove all. We need to be mindful of why we're doing things and why we're proposing things. But I do feel that in certain cases that has gotten to the stage that, and by just basic, copying it from one proposal to another or from one RFP to another, this information has expanded and it has expanded.
I think you have to be very Estonian to have this very efficiency-focused mindset, or
Yes.
like some other nations as well have this attitude, not all. So I think in order to go totally there, that look, I want to have only this 10%. That's the real information, and leave me the introductions and the exits out, or all of that. The culture has to change in general of the humankind. So not everybody is so efficiency orientated. I can reflect or back from one of the recent debates I've had on topics like what's the future of development, and when there is an economic analyst coming in saying, look, simplify, do more focused, leave certain things out, leave that in. The answer of those who have been then, years in the, also she was years in the development policy, but from the economical analyst's point of view, the others say, but you're leaving all the political aspects out. That's the point. I mean, I can think also like that. Give me the valid information, and I don't need the rest that, how that, adds to this and this and this policy line. I just want to have the pure data, the information. But not everybody thinks that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is also the other part.
I know this was a very dangerous question to ask, and very dangerous position to point in.
But I fully understand your thinking. I mean, being economist and Estonian, so
there are certain aspects over there, and it's like when and having been in those processes so many times, you know how those documents are put together on both sides.
Yeah.
How much just automatic copy and paste there is in the structure. So I think there is quite a bit of efficiency that can be brought in from there. And I know that we need to be mindful of your time. We're already being very generous, but it wouldn't be the Estonian general intelligence discussion if we wouldn't have a bit of a discussion on AEI and AGI. And I'm going to just ask it in a very general way. Of once again, when you're looking at the AI becoming increasingly more part of the technology discussion, and the AGI becoming increasingly more part of the intelligence discussion, and the partner intelligence, the human intelligence. What are the aspects that you're kind of keeping your eye on? What are the things that are kind of curious for you, and also what are the things that you're really careful about?
I start from the latter. I think by nature again, me personally, but also from Estonian perspective, we have been embracing any other new technologies. Like we've been ready, like say, oh, there is something new, let's test it out. So we are more open, I think, to test out any other, new technologies which are there, and test it wherever we can and see, okay, that makes us even more efficient. Let's use that. So I think that's the attitude. It's general there towards AI or AGI. Also, of course, there is also, and we have been talking with you about that, and I'm very, I would say, unknowledgeable in general in that field. But I think there is maybe, there are fears probably. Where does it lead us? Does it lead us to somewhere we don't want to go as humankind? Does it leave us without the jobs? Does it leave us losing control of ourselves? It's a question of, but this is something that I guess these fears come always come the fears when you don't know what you're dealing with. So I think as much as we would be more knowledgeable about be it the AI as a technology and what it can do for you, or rather where the developments of the general intelligence is going, it's just being mindful for it, and then being mindful and knowledgeable of that, I think also might help, and that comes from my limited knowledge about the area at all. That might help us to frame the development eventually, and eventually also being able to use that for us. I mean, there are so many things that the technology as AI can do also wrong. and you can, as it was digitalization, I mean, cyber threats, it comes this discussion for me is a bit similar when we talked about cyber threats, let's say also 15 years ago, or started to talk about it. And just try to regulate that somehow, and cyber warfare and things like cyber defense, and how do you first define them and what you do and how to regulate. So I think that's interesting to see, by the way, is to see that how quickly we have reached from the AI as being there as a technology, rather new, how quickly in that case we came to the fact that we have to regulate it. In the way that we can control it, limit it, and for. I
in
think
EU. The rest of the
not
world is
only
a bit different.
not only OECD discussion. I've been sitting also 2 days discussing mainly about how to regulate it. Of course, we have to regulate it in some areas like malware, military, different areas that can do harm. But again, I think first we have to gain knowledge more in order to be able to regulate it, but also embrace the possibilities that it brings.
Absolutely. Yes, it's a very interesting world, and how fast it is developing. And for me personally, I'm the most curious about the new intelligence coming to the table, and having the partner already that everyone has in their fingertips today. Something they say that ChatGPT is IQ of 148. That you have the partner that you can utilize for very many things already.
Yeah.
And one of the things is definitely being better informed and getting better informed.
Yeah, it's a knowledge machine.
Yes.
We can use, right?
And then the next step is when this knowledge machine starts thinking by itself, and how much it includes us in the conversations. But I'm still optimistic that there can be many great things happen. Of course, as with any technology, it can always be used for good or for bad, and we need to be very mindful of that. And this is where it gets actually very interesting and somewhat scary. The discussion as well is in how much power do we have to regulate and the kind of the growth in knowledge and gaining the additional knowledge and self-learning, and whether the human intelligence has it has its own limits, and we know the capacity of our brains and how fast we can think and all of this. We're still very efficient thinking machines, but there are computers that are more powerful than our brains in processing information. And even with hallucinations and everything like this, these are very human traits as well. So there are very many different aspects, and I think maybe that's a good way that you're welcome back to the podcast. Maybe it's a good discussion to have when you come back, in a half a year or a year time, and we can have a refresher on where we are.
And let's see what the AI has learned from this podcast for the future discussions.
Absolutely, and this is something that in my company we're actually toying around with the technology right now to have the AI as a panelist. We already have quite good technologies where there is this the woman named Anu, which is a very Estonian name, that can actually listen to our entire conversation and then come in with the points and be a third part of haven't introduced it to the podcast yet, but I don't think that episode is very far away.
That would be very interesting.
Yes. But now I do have to say that I really appreciate your time, and it's been a very wonderful discussion. I hope I wasn't too kind of critical or difficult on some of the points.
Not at all.
Yes.
Very interesting. It's always interesting to kind of think through about several questions that you posed. Also, that usually I don't have time for that. So I think that's also a bit reflecting inside myself. Why do we do something what we do?
Well, that's excellent if it provided also some points of reflection for you. And I think this is great because I'm sure it has provided many for the listener or the viewer. So, but now, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
And I'm really looking forward to the continuation of our discussions.
Thank you.